Hi moms, today's video is going to be 7 books that I have read or am reading that have helped me as a homeschool mom. The first ones I'm going to talk about are the ones that I'm in the process of reading right now. And yes, I do have multiple books going at the same time. That's how my brain works. It's like, what am I in the mood for? What do I need nurtured? That's just how it is. So the very first one is How to Teach Your Child Shakespeare by Ken Ludwig. I immediately was drawn into this book. I love literature, I love reading, I love Shakespeare, and it was probably my favorite subject in high school, and that's saying something because I really liked school. But this book has been so good in teaching my children about Shakespeare and also teaching them how to memorize Shakespeare and really getting them to evoke the emotion of Shakespeare. And I'd like to do it outside because I just feel like being in nature whilst reading Shakespeare, I don't know. It makes it so much better. But this book has been really, really good and really helpful for me as a homeschool mom. Most of the other books are more about how to homeschool, and this is really like just how to help you teach your children about Shakespeare. So it's kind of a little different than the other books I'm going to be sharing. But I had to put it on this list because it is a really good book. The next one I'm reading as a homeschool mom isn't necessarily something you would think of as a homeschool mom book, but I actually think that this is going to be so good for me. I've already read parts of it. My sister basically quotes it to me weekly. But Atomic Habits is all about building habits, right? And starting small and working your way up. And I've already been implementing that this year because my sister has talked to me so much about this book, and I already knew kind of that theme, and so I wanted to really do that this year. So I've been implementing it since about December, and I can already see it working. But I'm really excited to go through this book because I think it will help me as a mom to be able to teach my children how to build better habits as well. So that's why I'm so excited to get into this book with my highlighter in the next few weeks. The next one is Motherhood Without All the Rules. Now, as with all parenting books, I don't necessarily agree with every single thing, but I agree with a lot of it. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in some of the teaching. Now, this is by Maggie Combs, and I have to say that the first time when I picked this up and I read it, I had to take a minute and actually do some breathing exercises because I was like I am, or I have been sometimes, the definition of a helicopter mom. And I don't like that, but it's really hard for me to let go of that. And so if you are a helicopter mom, this can be a really good thing to help you kind of give some of that to God. I wouldn't recommend this for all moms, but if you're trying to loosen the grip a little bit, my husband calls it cutting the cord, the umbilical cord. If you're trying to cut the cord, then this book might be for you. And again, I don't agree with everything, but I do think that it had some really good points. The next one is Call of the Wild and Free by Ainsley Arment. But this book has also been really good. I got it for Christmas. I was so excited. And again, hey, not reading it as the gospel truth, but looking for the good ideas in it. And it talks a lot about getting out of nature. It talks a lot about the pressure of children now to do well in standardized testing and be on the structure, and they just don't have time to get to be free and explore and use their imaginations. And I agree with all of that. I do agree with all of that. That there is just so much pressure on kids now to act beyond their age. And I do think it's a good book, and I think that reading multiple angles, reading multiple viewpoints of any topic that you are passionate about is really important. And you don't have to agree with everything, but it can give you some insight and can give you even just to see other perspectives. So I like this book because of that. And again, I don't think I'll agree with every single thing, but I do agree with the underlying point of the book of letting your children have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more wonder in their childhood. This one is The Book Whisperer by Donalyn Miller. So this book is written by a teacher, and she is a 5th grade, I think, lit teacher, and she basically implements reading in her classroom. So I have gone through this book with a highlighter because it is just fascinating and fabulous. And actually, this is not a parenting book. This is a book about helping instill a love of reading in your children, or in this case, she's talking about her children that she teaches. And because of that, I actually do agree with, I would say, 98% of it. There was one line in this entire book, and it said that you should have the freedom to read whatever you want. And I was like, whoa, when you're a child, you should probably have your parents' permission to read. But, like that book. But other than that, yes. Anyway, I basically have agreed with 99.9% of this book. It has been so good and given so much advice on how to instill a love of reading in your children and how to encourage it and to never like criticize their reading choices, even when you think their reading choices are like bananas. And I just thought that there's been so much wisdom in this book. Okay, so it says, Donalyn Miller teaches 6th grade language arts and social studies at Trinity Meadows Intermediate School in Keller, Texas. So she teaches 6th grade, and I just think she has such a unique take on teaching and reading, and something that so many teachers and parents and children would benefit from. Like, I just want to get everybody this book because I think it's fabulous, and it also makes me want to like read more to my children. So this book has been so good. I cannot recommend it enough. I love it. So the next one is the 5 Love Languages for Children. I've also read the 5 Love Languages, period, like for adults, but this one I thought was especially helpful. I read it first when my first son was very young because I just wanted to have that like foundation. And I felt like this book was so helpful to me. It gave me practical ideas of things to do to nurture to the specific love language of each child. And they're not all the same. All the kids are different. I feel like sometimes people think that you treat all your children the same. And like, yes, like have balance. But I feel like kids need different things. And that felt very, this like really brought that to light to me, that there are different things that are going to nurture the different kids. So there's the 5 love languages, and it's words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, receiving gifts, and acts of service. And in the book, they go into each one of those things. They have a test at the end that you can take for your kids, which was fun for the kids. I do the test with them, and I'll call out I'll read the test questions, and then I'll come and have each one whisper to me their answer so that they don't like get tainted by hearing the older kids talk, or nobody's like, oh, well, everybody else said this, so that's what I'm going to say too. So I call it out, and then each one comes and whispers like A or B, which one most resonated, and then I write down their answers. And it's really fun to see how they are and what love language they have and what speaks to them. I can use that going forward. I can use it with their school prizes. I can use that just in our daily life. We use what I have learned. I think this is such a good book, and I highly recommend it for parents, but homeschool moms, as you're working with your kids, this book I found was very, very useful. And last, but probably first in my favorites, like this is probably my favorite homeschool book I have ever read, and it has stuck with me. And then I ended up buying it for both of my sisters last year. After I read it, I just thought, everybody who homeschools needs this book. Okay, so a couple of the quotes on the back really spoke to me because they also resonated with me. And one of the ladies said, oh, I read this every quarter. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Like, I have this handy so that I can pull it out, and I have bits highlighted so I can find the parts that stuck out to me the most. And I can say that this book definitely did transform my view on homeschool. It transformed how I homeschool because it gave me like so much freedom in my homeschool, and I just felt like this was such a good read. It was so good for me to hear it from somebody else who's been homeschooling for a long time, but also has children in college. This book brought me joy with how I homeschool and the things that I'm doing and the impact they're having, because Sarah Mackenzie really promotes reading and reading aloud to your children, and that's something I do every single day, sometimes for like 2-3 hours. Maybe more. I mean, if we're in a good book, I'll just sit there for 2 hours straight and read, because we just don't want to stop. So I love reading aloud, and it just kind of gave me peace about that. This book was so good. And if you are homeschooling this year, like, I just cannot recommend this enough. The links for all these books will be in the description so you can find them easily. I hope that you found some that look intriguing and useful to you. If you've read any of these books, feel free to comment below and tell me your thoughts on them, because I love reading reviews of books. That's something I do in my spare time. I go and read book reviews because I am a dork. So I would love to hear your opinion on all these books. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to watch one of these videos up here. I make sure that they are catered to you so that you find ones that if you enjoyed this video, you would enjoy that video. So they are made for you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys again really soon.